Hey guys, and happy Wednesday. I know I'm back with another interview. Um, this one's going to be really good, and I'm actually really interested in hearing this myself. My friend Jaclyn should be jumping on. I tagged her in this. She's an author, speaker, writer, facilitator, coach, entrepreneur, and she wrote this amazing book called The Reconnect Method. And obviously, I want her to talk more about it. And for all the parents out there, here she comes. I'm going to bring her on really quickly. For all the parents, whether they're I have a 6-year-old. I know people have kids much younger than that. Hi, Jaclyn.
Hello, how are you, Scott?
It's good to see you. It's been a while.
Yes, it has been.
How is everything going?
Everything's going great. Last time I talked to you, I was in Philadelphia. Now I'm in Southwest Florida. So enjoying Florida life, and it's been awesome.
Awesome. Well, I just want to say first, congratulations for everything that's been going on with you. It's been really great to see you grow and prosper and, more importantly, do what you love. That's what this whole thing is about.
Absolutely. That figuring it out and being on your journey and finding your passion is the number one thing. No one should ever feel like they're in a job or obligation. Everyone should be finding their passion.
100%. So again, why I love doing these interviews, I like asking the questions and I just like listening because especially a topic tonight, whether people are entrepreneurs or not, I think most of the people that we are friends with and in our networks are parents and they could benefit from this information. But before we get into the guts of what we want to talk about tonight, for people that don't know who you are, obviously we know you live in Southwest Florida now. I know who you are, but if you could do just a brief little explanation of who you are, how you got into what you're doing now, because you have a very, very diverse background. You've done a lot of different things that culminated and led you to what you're doing right now. So I'm just going to turn it to you so you can introduce yourself to the audience.
Great. Well, thank you. I feel so welcome to be here and so glad we finally connected to do this. Again,
Absolutely.
I'm Jaclyn Wagner. I was actually born and raised right outside of Philadelphia in the burbs, Bucks County, and moved to Center City area and lived there about 10 years before coming to Florida. And basically, because of my diverse background growing up, I really was able to see patterns and, patterns in numbers and relationships and all of that. And I was always an entrepreneur at heart. I started my first business at 10 years old. 11 and 12 did a kids camp with the supervision of my parents and wrote lesson plans, everything, and did the same thing at 18. So, but because of my family dynamic, not only did I have this like third generation of an entrepreneur spirit within me and, just having that built in, but the family dynamics of the way I grew up and the way the divorce and remarriage and all of that, I picked up my first child psychology book at 16 and I
Mm.
started studying right through with it. So basically, if you look at my resume, I have a career in business and I have a career in education. So I started my business at 18 and went in to pay for my college tuition and not need anyone else for that. Bought my first house at 23 and I continued on doing both of those things. So while I was doing my education business at 18 and getting through college and maximizing my time with that, I was actually deciding I want to go out in the business world and learn more. So once I graduated, I did that and I was able to do consulting work because I was that early on. Like I've never been one to talk about age or anything because I started so early. And those 4 years where I was in college, I built my business. I worked with 75 plus families coming in and building that niche, marketing that niche out there. And then I went out into the business world. So I did not start teaching or do anything in education formally until 10 years later. So
Mm.
I really ran both of these diverse backgrounds with it. And what I found is whether I was in education working in the school systems or with families, or I sat a board of directors on nonprofit organizations, or whether I worked in business, we have these limiting beliefs that come around us. And the control that's there, the dictatorship, everything that surrounds it affects our lives.
Yeah.
So I really wanted, I am only one person. I can't be into every business and every family. And be able to disseminate this information to people. So I developed the Reconnect method. And basically, that is what I wrote the first book for, which is the Reconnect Method Guide to Getting Your Child to Listen Without Saying a Word. And it's the first book in the series applying the Reconnect Method to your family life with your children to get them to understand where you're coming from and to listen. So that's
So
in a nutshell.
no, I love that. And just like you, I'm a fourth generation entrepreneur. And it's when it's born into you, and my parents are also not together anymore, and both obviously, reconnected to their new partner. So let's talk about that, because people might say, well, what was it, or what got you so interested in childhood development and creating the Reconnect method? Everyone has an impactful moment in their life where they're set on a course. You don't know maybe at the time why that happened, but when you can kind of look back, you're like, that was that trigger moment where it created that ripple effect of where I am now. So talk a little bit about your upbringing, about your childhood, and maybe what really spurred the Reconnect method, and then we can get into what that exactly is.
Well, basically, my mother and father divorced. They separated when I was really young, and there was a major, major volatile relationship that was there. It was just always back and forth at one another, always who's going to win the battle, who's going to, all kinds of things, from tempers to whatever. And basically, what had happened is my dad had ended up, they finally got divorced. I was living through all of this. I had an older brother who was about 2.5, or have an older brother who's about 2.5 years older than me. And I always felt myself trying to manage everything. It was a very, very codependent relationship very early on, a relationship where I felt like I had to earn my love, earn my way in. And I started seeing these things and feeling it. And when they finally got divorced, my dad had met someone new and decided to get remarried. And at this time, he and my mom were still at odds. And basically, he took us away from my mother. And obviously, it wasn't something that the courts demanded or of her. There was nothing that she specifically did. They both were very inappropriate with a lot of things that they did. But what had happened was my dad was in our ear and telling us, like, every time she's around, it's fighting. And you know the way it is with, divorced couples, and they're, saying stuff back and forth. And it's really about them, and they're upset and they're hurt with the other person. And that's what I had experienced. And basically, one of the toughest moments I remember as a kid is my dad saying to my brother and I, you either choose to live with me and never see your mother again, or you live with your mother and I never want to see you again.
Wow.
And it went on and on. It wasn't just like one time decide. It was like, I remember, telling my dad, can we talk? I mean, I was like 9 years old at the time, and I was so like a mature child because of what I had to go through. And, I just said, Dad, I don't want to choose between you two. Like, we have to go to court tomorrow. I have to go talk to the judge. I don't want to do this. And he just thought it was like in the bag, we were going, and he got so upset. He punched a hole in the wall. He ended up breaking his hand, blamed me for it. And it was just such a crucial, traumatic moment for me in my life. And basically, he ended up getting us from my mom. We just didn't want the fighting anymore. And my dad got remarried. And at 16, about 16 and 18, he had another boy and another girl, basically the same age difference. And at that point in time, I was able to see the patterns because my little brother, who was born first, was due on November. He was supposed to be a Thanksgiving baby, due November 15th. He was born on August 7th at the end of summer. He was 2 pounds, 5 ounces. And then emotions were so heightened. And that's when I bought my first child psychology book, because I saw all the variables different but my father. And I saw the pain and the things that he was going through and the trauma from his life and how it was coming into his adulthood. And there had to be a reason for it.
Right.
So that's where I started from there. And I just dove right in and, wanted to learn both aspects of that business and the education and really bring it together. And that was really the starting point for me. There was a lot of heavy stuff that I know we all deal with. And I'm very grateful for my family. I love my family. And I know probably me coming out with my book has been so hard for them, and I'm proud of them for the courage to be able to support me in what I'm doing with this, because there's so many people that need to hear what's going on. And
Yeah,
this is my destiny. This is what I'm here for, to help people, not
I
only
love that.
personally, but in business.
So, well, first, thank you for your vulnerability and your raw and realness, because I think a lot of people sometimes sugarcoat their lives and everything that goes on, but I think it's really important for people really to reveal what they had to go through, because they see what you're doing now and they're like, oh, she probably got a child psychology degree and she read a bunch of books, so this, that, or the other, and what qualifies her. And that's not the case at all. The best teachers, the best coaches, the best mentors are those that experienced something where they can then share that experience with others and how they coped and dealt and actually succeeded from it. And you are an absolute clear-cut case of that. So first, congratulations for everything that you've been through and you've overcome, and you've turned your passion into something so much more, and it's really beautiful to see.
Yes, thank you. And you're absolutely right. I mean, that is where it comes from. You can't teach somebody something unless you know it yourself. You can have the sympathy, you can read about it, but that person that's gone through it, and there has been so much that I've gone through, from, dealing with being molested by my babysitter, date raped at 17. I was in a car accident where in the inner city where I thought he was going to shoot me, and I dealt with post-traumatic stress, anxiety, depression, spiraling out with autoimmune diseases before I, was able to take control of my life and get it back. There's so many things that I had to overcome, and
Mm.
it really came down to me finally realizing I had to reconnect with myself. I was always about helping so many people and having that passion, but I had the disconnect within myself, and it all came full circle for that.
So let's talk about the reconnect method. Explain what it is, because there's a lot of parents on here, and they have kids ranging from my son's age, around 6, maybe younger, up into teenagers, maybe early 20s, and we're all kids at heart in some way, shape, or form. So what is the reconnect method? And obviously, I left a description of where to get your book on Amazon, and I suggest everyone to go and buy it. You can download it on Kindle. But let's talk a little bit about the reconnect method, what it is, and maybe there's an exercise or something that you can go through with the listeners on here live and on the replay, of maybe something they can start to do before they go and buy the book.
Right. Well, basically, the reconnect method is a 9-step method that allows us to dive into those negative repeating patterns that are coming up in our life, and overcome the limiting beliefs that are there. So when you take a look at, your child not listening and the same thing happening, or you keep dating the same kind of guy no matter how much you better yourself in a certain area, or even in your relationships dealing with things, having pet peeves that are there where it's like, this bothers me, that emotional charge behind us, there's a story behind it. And the reconnect method takes you through 3 phases. I call them the 3 R's: reflect, resolve, and reconnect. And basically, it shares with people how the dynamic within our relationship environment comes about, with the control, the dictatorship, how we hold on to things because we didn't receive certain things when we were younger, and our perceptions of things kind of tailored to where we are now. And as we can understand the dynamics of how we're contributing and mirroring things within a relationship, phase 2 is about resolving. It's really diving into those triggers, those
Right.
specific things that piss you off, that upset you. I see it all the time with husbands and wives, where a kid will do something, the husband's fine with it or the wife's fine with it, and the other one is irate. There's a story behind it. So diving
Mm.
into that emotion, finding that core emotion that's down there, and understanding how that emotion affects you on a physiological level, and how it's there because it's in your cellular memory. It's there from that time when you first experienced something and built those beliefs. And that is the repetition. That's the energy, the projection, the mirroring that we have, that we can go down to resolve. And that's what I show you in phase 2. And phase 3 is all about reconnecting. 7, 8, and 9 steps are about reconnecting with yourself, where your mindset is, reconnecting with someone else in the same mindset, and also overcoming those long-term obstacles and, long-term results that we want to have in our relationship with people, because things are going to still come up. There's so many things that we've gone through throughout our life, and things that compound and piggyback that we need to resolve. And I don't mean to say that as a daunting thing, but
Mm-hmm.
when you learn the process and you learn to listen to yourself and to listen and have awareness of where the triggers and emotions are, it is a blissful feeling after you work through it and then are in the same situation and then don't feel it again.
Right.
So that is really what the Reconnect method is. And the reason why I wrote the book for parent-child relationship first is because I believe that it had to be first. I want to be there
Right.
to not only help parents understand for themselves, but their parents that are out in the workforce or their business owners, they're able to then take what they learn into the professional environment and into the household, so we can be role models for these children, so we do not have to have them as adults working through this heartache to backtrack and manage care. We want to do preventative care. And that's why my passion was the first book with parent child, but book 2, 3, and 4 is in the works already.
I saw that. That's amazing. So what, there's a lot of parents on here. So what is something they can do? Because obviously, as children grow up, they're always going through different phases. What are some of the normal patterns that you see as children grow up, and maybe some things that parents maybe aren't really just too clued in on, or aware of things that they can do, whether it's listening, or behaviors or reactions, or because everything is about your energy, and obviously that is felt onto them. So what are some simple things that parents can do right now to create that reconnect method with their children, and start to maybe even change the relationship? Because obviously, ages 6 through 10 are so important. Those are the big developmental years for children, and that's when a lot of their emotions are established and formed, and who they're shaped to be. So what are some things that some of the parents can do? And also for the parents that are past that phase, they have teenagers, and obviously you and I both know, when we're teenagers, things, with hormones and everything else, there becomes other challenges. So what are some active things that these parents can do to start moving that needle into a direction where there's a better relationship there?
Great. And thank you for that, because there's nothing that I can say that's going to replace working through everything with the triggers and, environment within your relationship with your child. One thing that I can say to really bring awareness and plant the seed is, and this is in the third phase, is really simplicity and presence. Really understanding how we don't have to make things so complex. And presence with your children is the most important thing. For you, I know that there's a hustle and bustle with everything, and we have such
Yeah.
fast-paced things going on. But if you commit yourself to doing something with your child, commit to do that with them. I don't
Right.
care if you're going to get on the ground and play with them. Be your child's age. Be that innocence. Bring your own childhood innocence back to it.
Right.
On the back burner, turn the phones off, or, depending upon your child's age, it may differ with what you're going to do. But basically, being present is the most important thing that you can do. And
Absolutely.
that's the starting point. And, do that and get the book and start reading. And everyone can DM me if they want. I'm so open to respond back to people. I'll even be happy to, do 30-minute free session to talk to them a little bit more about the book and how it works. But it's really about being present is the number one thing that I could say.
Right. Hold on for 1 second. Get in bed. Get in bed. I'll be right there. Get in bed. Get in bed, please. I'm on an interview. Get in bed, please. I'm on an interview. Please get in bed.
And there you go. You have some
There,
challenges.
there you go. Yeah, he was literally standing right here for the last 15 minutes staring at me. So again, there's no best way. And I think a lot of parents are hard on themselves because they don't want to do something wrong, or they don't want to mess something up, because, one of the most challenging things that you're going to go through is being in charge of another human being and raising them and molding them. And I think there's a lot of pressure that parents put on themselves. So what can you speak on that as far as a lot of parents really putting too much pressure on themselves, and how can they take that stress off of them and just relax into parenthood a little bit and realize that things aren't that big of a deal, and picking and choosing your battles just like in a relationship with someone. How can you speak on that to create better boundaries, and really having parents create those relationships and maybe not getting into the ring when it's really not necessary?
Right. Honestly, it's really creating acceptance for yourself. The one thing I tell parents, and I mean, even when I talk to people about dating or their relationships, the person that you're closest to is going to mirror the things that you need to look deeply within yourself. And most of the times we're so used to focusing outwards, if my child would do this, or if this would take place, then things would be better. So I'm a bad parent. Understanding that there's more that's underneath and having the acceptance with yourself that you're just on a journey. It might be really shitty right now with whatever situation
Yeah.
is going on. Take a step back and know that there's some goodness, some greatness that's going to come out for you. And your children are your number one teachers. We sometimes squash them down
Oh,
and we want to
absolutely.
have societal values and we want to mold and make them. And if that is you, that is because there's something within you that maybe you were squashed down with there. The cycle will repeat itself until we're ready to look in. So just hearing this interview is planting seeds to take a look at, wow, what am I doing? What am I feeling? What kind of environment am I creating? And how am I beating myself up and then taking it out on my child, or teaching them to do the same thing? So it's really taking that step back and having acceptance for yourself first and foremost.
So for those that are jumping on late, I suggest you go back and watch the beginning of this because you missed a lot of the golden nuggets, even though they're being dropped right now. This is definitely an interview that's worth going back and watching over again. And obviously, the book is called The Reconnect Method. I left a link in my earlier post, and Jaclyn, definitely leave that link after we're wrapping up here. And I want to go through a couple rapid fire questions before we do close out. So number one, what is your greatest personal accomplishment to date?
Oh my gosh, that's a hard one. Greatest personal accomplishment, I would have to say being strong enough to call my wedding off 4 months before, with someone who fell down the hole majorly with alcoholism and then committed suicide because of it. And right as I called my wedding off the same month, starting a master's program, the only person in the nation to go through the state and actually get it approved and do 36 credits in 3 months. That is
Wow,
probably like my greatest accomplishment, to get that certificate from the state of Pennsylvania.
that's amazing. So on the opposite end of the spectrum, what do you feel has been the greatest personal obstacle that you've had to overcome?
Well, the biggest obstacle, and it's what I face even now, is beating myself up. I have been taught it. My father, I love him to death and had such great intentions, but he was always, how can you do it better? Why did you do it right? Why, you get it, you get 100. Well, why did you get the 1 point extra credit off on the back? And we're so hard on ourselves, and I still sometimes fall into that instead of being more accepting to myself. So that's probably the hardest thing that I have to overcome, and still pops up every now and then, just as a habitual thing.
Absolutely. So before my final question, how can people, other than obviously direct messaging you on Facebook and on Instagram, how can people directly find out about you and how you can help them, speaking engagements, mentoring, and most importantly, how can they get the book?
Amazon, the book's on Amazon, The Reconnect Method. It is in the Kindle version. I am actually looking to be working with a publisher to have them take it over. So I have not done the paperback, but whether I do get with the publisher or not, the paperback will be out this summer. If for some reason you like paperback, download the app, purchase it, and send me the receipt to info@thereconnectmethod.com, and I will send you a PDF version in your email with it. So you can do that to get it until the paperback does come out. But I am on LinkedIn, YouTube, Instagram. Twitter, I'm up and running now. I have the account, but I'm getting everything going, and so I'm basically on all of those platforms, so people can go there, and also www.thereconnectmethod.com. I'm doing some construction with that now, but it will be all up and running, and some new things to come with that.
So quickly before my last question, Debbie wants to know, do you believe the heart wants what the heart wants?
I'm not quite sure what she means by that in regards to Debbie. If you hear this, can you just clarify exactly what you mean? Are you talking about with your children and relationships? What specifically?
Well,
And
we'll see we'll wait for her to respond. And Jimmy says, where can we see more of you, Jaclyn? So
well, obviously all the platforms. I am in the process of getting more speaking engagements and things of that nature. So, we definitely be out and about, and all the platforms to really stay on top of it, and the website as well.
and drop those in the comment section. And Debbie was speaking in regards to relationships. Do you believe?
Relationship.
Yes.
The heart wants what the heart wants. You know what, Debbie? The heart wants you to dive into yourself. When we're in relationships and we feel a sense of lack, we feel disrespected, we feel whatever, another person, no matter what they do, can't really make us feel a certain way. It is an alarm system going off. It's a trigger for you to basically say, dive in. And if there's something there, I don't know the dynamics, I'd love to talk to you more. Definitely send me a message. Let's chat about it. But if you're talking more so that maybe there's something volatile going on and you're like, I just love this guy, and why am I still wanting this? There is something there. There's something there of, it could be abandonment. It could be so many different things. And using that second phase of the reconnect method will uncover it. The one thing I want to say is this is not a cookie cutter method. It's not a diet plan where you have to eat so many carbs and so many proteins. This is a method that's an infrastructure for you to map out your course. It is not a cookie cutter thing. So everything that you walk through in the infrastructure, it comes from you, and you bring new awareness, and it's a new stepping stone and a new place for you to go in your life with new awarenesses. So I hope that clarifies, but I'd love to talk to you more, Debbie.
Yeah, anyone that's on here, either live or on the replay, send Jaclyn a message and she'd be happy to talk to you. But also definitely get the book, The Reconnect Method, on Amazon. So before we sign off, one final question. There's no wrong answer. What does success mean to you?
Success means to me going after what your inner guidance is telling you to do, what you need to do, and finding that out. If it doesn't matter whether you want to go to college or whether you don't, or you want to have a business, you dictate what success is for you. Don't allow anyone else to dictate it for you.
I love that. Thank you, my friend, for being here tonight, sharing your gift, and I, I hope people reach out to you, and I'm going to encourage all of you to do that and buy her amazing book. So I just want to wish you continued success, gratitude for you coming on here, and thank you for leading the way, writing this book and blazing some trails for others and helping so many people along the way.
Wonderful. And thank you, and happy birthday too.
Thank you so much.
Birthday. Mine's on Friday, so we share that 6 day apart.
Awesome. Yes. Well, thank you, and happy early birthday to you.
Thanks. Have a great day, and I'll be talking to you soon too.
You got it, my friend.
Bye. See you.
Bye-bye. So again, follow that inner guidance. Don't let anything steer you off of your course, and you will get exactly what you want. And everyone deserves the best. So if you guys want, if you missed the interview, go back, watch the replay. Golden Nuggets dropped the entire interview. Jaclyn, thank you so much again. Get the book, The Reconnect Method, on Amazon. Love and gratitude to each and every one of you, and I'll see you next time. Bye-bye, everybody.